Bill Plaschke, Courtney Cronin, Marcel Louis-Jacques, Kevin Blackistone. Look at these Bengals jerseys. Gorgeous. The white Bengal tiger is a rare and resilient species. Look here as they win with their burrow half-calves.
They're ugly.
Also, the tush-push. Lethal sign of attack or curious mating ritual. Let's go around the horn. I love Sir David Attenborough. I apologize. I love him. I love them all. Planet Earth, the dynasties, the Predator. Love them all.
6 days like a media day.
Joe Burrow saying the risk of going 0-3 was greater than the risk of re-injuring the already re-injured calf. Wow. He went 26 of 49, 259 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Cincy's defense came up large, and that's how it was Bengals 19, Rams 16. We start there. Courtney Cronin, around the horn to you. Seeing Burrow play through last night, it's the debate of the day. Was the reward of the win worth the risk?
Tony, some people are going to look at the fact that he attempted 49 passes last night and say, why would play calling put somebody who has an injured right calf in that situation? Okay. They ran 65 plays out of the shotgun. The dropbacks from that are not normal 3-5-step dropbacks. There's different mechanics, so he's not putting as much pressure on his calf, and the play calling in those situations actually protected him. The thing with Joe Burrow that we have to look at further is that this 4.7 yards per attempt, that's who he is right now. It's a shell of the guy who's usually able to launch the deep ball, so they had to be selective in the moments that they chose to do that. That was utilizing Joe Mixon, 19 carries, wearing down this Rams defense to the point where they could take those shots, and that 43-yarder to Jamar Chase, who finally is a part of this game plan, helped that offense come alive to do just enough, relying on the defense too. 6 sacks and 2 interceptions, a total team win here in Cincinnati.
So if I'm picking up what you're putting down here, the risk was worth the reward.
It was, with the way that they were able to rely not just on Joe Burrow and the version that we're used to seeing out there, the guy who can plant off of that back foot and launch the pass, launch passes, launch deep passes. They were able to do it in a way where they had to put the pressure on other elements of this team to get away.
Marcel, is that what you saw? You saw Burrow who was risking it for a reward, and was it worth it?
It was a shock to even see him active after Jamar Chase basically spent the week saying that he probably shouldn't play and spent the offseason saying that he should probably not play until week 5. There's a little bit of Jesse Pinkman in this, right, Tony? Like, they can't keep getting away with this. He should not have started the season. I mean, hindsight's 20/20, but this is your nearly $300 million quarterback, and you're kind of playing it fast and loose. The scary thing about these soft tissue injuries, they don't really go away. So are you going to commit to this shotgun approach, or are you going to hold your breath every time he takes a 3-step drop, every time he scrambles outside the pocket or throws off platform? Because it's a ticking time bomb, it's essentially at this point. Yeah, congrats on getting the win. I will end this on a compliment. Good teams find a way to win in adverse situations, including when your $300 million quarterback is putting up J.P. Lossman and Derek Anderson numbers. Shout out to that defense for figuring out how to get it done. There's still 14 more games to go.
Kevin Blackistone, was the risk worth the reward?
No, it was not. I'm not going to change my opinion from a week ago. We don't know what the risk. We don't know what the end of this risk was. We don't know if Joe Burrow is feeling any better today than he did last week. What happened was they won with defense. They won with a defense that just swarmed Matt Stafford. They had half a dozen sacks. Their red zone defense was fantastic. That's what won them the game. It was not necessarily Joe Burrow. He had one 40-yard pass to Jamar Chase. May have had a couple more over 20 yards, but T. Martin couldn't seem to hold on to the ball. But we figured out last week that, they may be able to muddle through these first 6 games and get to a 300, get 3 wins and 3 losses and be good going forward with a rested Joe Burrow. Now he's not rested, so you really don't.
Bill Plaschke.
Can we stop beating around the bush? Sit Joe Burrow. Get him out of there. Get him out of there. They have the Titans, the Cardinals, and the Seahawks coming up. He's not the same person he was. He's barely moving out there. He was 2 for 15 on passes of 15 plus or more yards. The only reason he won this game, the only reason, was because Sean McVay wouldn't run the ball in the red zone. because
You got problems
that's
with
it.
the Rams game call. Okay, I want to get to that in a second. Courtney, to respond to Bill saying they have to sit him, it's not worth it.
Look, last week, when they started out 0-2, I was a proponent of putting him on injured reserve. They're clearly not going to do that now because they already had him go through a game. They're 1-2 versus 0-3. Joe Burrow said it himself following the game last night. Their risk of re-injuring it did not weigh nearly as much as the risk of them going 0-3. Their backup quarterback situation isn't great like many teams in the NFL, and if they don't have Joe Burrow out there, I guess at whatever percentage he's at, they're not going to win a lot of games, so this is their best option.
Courtney, he's risking the Achilles getting hurt. As you said before on the show, he's risking getting his head knocked in because he can't move. There's too much risk involved. And again, his passer rating yesterday was worse than Zach Wilson's. All right, Jake Browning could have won that game yesterday because the Rams won't run the ball in the red zone.
Is there something you want to get off your chest, Bill? The Rams not being able to close out the game? Go ahead, please.
I am so frustrated with Sean McVay. They had a chance to take a 7-0 lead down the red zone, and they throw the ball 3 times. They don't get the ball to Kyron Williams in any of the red zones in the first 3 times they had the ball in the red zone. He's passing. He doesn't. He and Sean McVay in the running game are never copacetic. They never work. It didn't work with Todd Gurley. It didn't work with Cam Akers, and it's not working with Kyron Williams. They need to change. And they need to run the ball more to give Stafford some breathing room. It was terrible out there.
There was that play with Atwell making an incredible dive for the goal line, which was initially ruled a touchdown, and then it was overturned. Did you think there was enough video to overturn that? Because that's a 4-point swing in a game that ended being 3 points, Bill.
I saw the white chalk dust up. I think it was fair. It was a good call.
Yeah.
We've been horned. We'll move on. Eagles 25, Bucks 11. Another cruise control win for Philadelphia. Hurts played through flu-like symptoms. And DeAndre Swift was explosive again, and he was aerial. And, of course, there was a whole lot more tush-push in this game. Inevitable, unstoppable, but I agree with Troy Aikman when he said he would have held the fake tush-push, the Brazilian lift of tush-pushes, if you will, for a bigger spot. Marcel, let me ask you this. Are the Eagles looking as solid as they looked last year?
I'm still reeling from the Brazilian lift of the tush push. Yeah, they're looking like a defending NFC champion. Like, this is exactly what they're supposed to do. It doesn't matter that Jalen Hurts isn't necessarily lighting the world on fire. They are a ground-based offense that still has a top 3 offensive line in the NFL and improved at the running back position with DeAndre Swift, getting him for pennies on the dollar from Detroit. But I do want to mention, when it comes to Philadelphia and any possible impending Super Bowl hangover, this is the equivalent, the starts of the season, of rolling out of bed after a bender and walking directly into the spa. Minnesota, New England, Tampa Bay, they've got Washington, the Rams, the Jets. They're going to be 6-0 by the time they host the Dolphins on Sunday Night Football in Week 7. But coincidentally, that's when the schedule gets harder. After that Dolphins game, they've got Washington, they've got Dallas, they've got Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco.
All right. Thank you for looking at the schedule. I think you had Washington early in the season. Oh, they got Washington. That's easy. And then Washington late in the season. I don't know how you got there. Wow, Eagles versus Dolphins. That's what I'm going to stay up starting now for. Kevin Blackistone, to you on whether this team looks like they should look right now.
They do look like they should look right now. They look like the defending champions of the NFL. They look like a Super Bowl winning team. This team gave up 20 points last year on defense, scored 28. That's basically what they're doing right now. But they're doing it with the guy in DeAndre Swift who, think about it, Miles Sanders was a Pro Bowler last year. He got 4 years, $25 million to leave the Eagles. They got DeAndre Swift for 4 years, $8 million, and he's producing more, it looks like right now, than Miles Sanders. And you know that Jalen Hurts, I said earlier, the pressure that would be on him, he is responding fantastically. I mean, he played last night, you said it, he was sick, made great throws, great decision-making. They're playing like a team with a whole lot of confidence, and they have a defense that probably could be maybe a little bit better.
So Plaschke, is they as solid as they were last year?
Yes, this is the best team in the NFC. I know people from the 49ers aren't going to agree, but they have the second best rushing offense, the best rushing defense. And Hurts, you see that throw he made across the middle when he got hit? He's not even playing his best, and he's still, 20-1 as a starter? This team, there's no Super Bowl hangover. And most teams I've seen, I've lived through it, I've experienced it, and this is not a Super Bowl hangover at all. This team is probably better than last year.
And Courtney Cronin.
I remember there was a panelist right before the draft who sat in a chair on this show, and actually was right here, saying that the Eagles should trade up and were likely to trade up to go get Jalen Carter. And lo and behold, look at these 2 forced fumbles that he had yesterday. And of course, there's a lot of off-field stuff about why the Eagles were the one spot for him that made sense. But this is a defensive statement game for Philadelphia. They had Tampa Bay living in second and long all night because every time they tried to run, they ran right into that defensive line. A defensive line that lost Javon Hargrave in free agency, but didn't seem to have any sort of drop-off here. Remember, they were predicated off the pressure that they were able to get up front last year. Over 4 players, I mean, 4 or 5 players each had 10 sacks last season. It feels like they are on pace to continue that trend with the group.
Lasky, last word after the horn.
They gained 298 more yards than the Bucs. Think about that. That's the biggest differential in years. This is a dominant Eagles team.
Although the Dolphins did have 500 more yards than their opponent this past weekend. Man, Eagles, Dolphins in a couple of weeks. Can't wait for that. Buy or sell next.
Welcome back to Around the Horn, coming to you from the Seaport. Brought to you by Patron. Perfection starts with Patron.
I wouldn't keep him. You know, I've seen enough of Zach Wilson. They need to make major changes from top to bottom.
Joe Namath off the top rope. But Robert Saleh sees it differently.
Is he your unquestioned quarterback the rest of this year?
He's our unquestioned quarterback. I know it's going to go on deaf ears and whatever, but what we see on a day in and day out basis is a young man who is much improved from a year ago.
Today, Aaron Rodgers has chimed in as well, asking for patience from Jets fans, and the Jets added to their quarterback room, signing veteran Trevor Siemian. Cordy, what to buy, what to sell today from this franchise?
I'd like Joe Namath to tell me which of 31 other teams would be willing to trade for a former number 2 overall quarterback who's a bust, and all of those guarantees. Nobody's talking about the for later, but they do have to keep him for now. Who do you want them to go get? Matt Ryan said no. Tom Brady's in retirement. The Vikings are not trading Kirk Cousins right now. Trevor Siemian, a backup since 2019, is their best option if they want to make a switch at the position.
Marcel, is there any move for these Jets?
Like, in terms of Joe Namath, though, like, right message, wrong messenger. You didn't see Dan Marino come out and publicly criticize Tua after a rough first 2 years. It's just kind of a weird move for a guy who has a higher career interception rate than Zach Wilson.
I was wondering where you were going with that. We've heard former players criticize new players.
You can't say that.
This is the one Super Bowl for this franchise, the one face of this
franchise. That's a little harsh.
You're not wrong, but you don't believe there's a move for them to make right now, I think, to cut through all the weeds there. Kevin Blackistone.
Boy, I tell you, I'm tired of hearing octogenarian sports figures tell the sports
Okay, here we go again. You're all tired of hearing.
However, I will say that Robert Saleh is just stuck in a hard place. Look, this was Aaron Rodgers' team. That's what it's constructed for. He's out the picture. There's nothing they can do.
Go Plaschke.
Joe Namath is the most important Jet in history. He's earned the right to say what he wants to say.
Maybe.
Guess what? I guess an owner, Woody Johnson, listens to him. I'm wondering, why didn't the Jets go get a veteran backup in the offseason? Why didn't they plan for this? Now they're stuck. I think they've got to get somebody. Joe Namath's right.
Buy or sell too. Mike Trout, his future with the Angels. It's in question. There was a report a few weeks ago from USA Today that the team would be open to trading him if he waived his no-trade clause. Yesterday, in his locker, he was emotional. Quote, I just want to get my head straight for the offseason, clear my mind, just have a healthy offseason. Bill Plaschke, how do you read Mike Trout's reaction there yesterday and his comment?
I'm reading he finally wants to be traded. I'm reading the Angels are finally trading. I'm also reading there's no way this is happening. No way. 7 years, $250 million owed on his contract for a player who's played less than half the games the last 4 years at age 32.
But you think he's untradeable? You think Mike Trout's untradeable? Courtney Cronin, how do you see it?
I see it as Mike Trout actually giving credence to the thought that he might want to move on from the Angels. They're on pace to lose 90 games this season. He's 32. He's not getting any younger. He has not played more than 150 games in a season since 2016. It's time to start over and start over somewhere else. It's not.
And you think it behooves the team to trade him, I guess, is the other part.
This is the first time that they will actually give thought to it realistically.
Marcel?
Yeah, Mike is at an interesting crossroad in his career. His individual legacy, I think, is locked in. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's still going to be talked about as one of the most talented baseball players to ever touch the field. He's got to decide, do I want to keep building generational wealth for my family, or do I want to go chase a ring? The Angels have already proven that this is not a conducive environment for winning. And, Bill, I hear what you're saying about an untradeable contract, but let's not get it twisted.
Well, that's right. That's right.
Somebody is going to trade.
But the contract's guaranteed, so the money's already there. Does he want to chase a ring, I guess, is the question you're asking. Kevin Blackistone, did you see a player yesterday at his locker showing emotion as a goodbye to the Angels?
No, I didn't see that, but I think that for the Angels, they've got to look at it this way. If there is somebody out there that will take his contract, given his injury record, then they should do that because they got to pay all this money to Ohtani anyway. He's just had a snake-bit career in the last several years as Mike Trout, and you just can't count on his health.
Buy or sell 3. Oh, this story. News of the day from the WNBA. Look at the voting here for MVP. You'll never see a race as tight as this with a top 3. Brianna Stewart winning league MVP today, finishing with the most points, but Alyssa Thomas, the runner-up, had more first-place votes. And A'ja Wilson, the reigning MVP, came in 3rd, was only 3 first-place votes behind Stewie and 13 overall. That is how you set up a game tonight between the Liberty and Sun. Game 2, Connecticut up 1-0 after they controlled Game 1. So that's Thomas versus Stewart. And, of course, A'ja Wilson also played tonight. And also in this postseason, Kevin Blackistone. Did the voters get MVP right?
No, they got it absolutely wrong. 600, 400, 300. That is the exclusive club that Alyssa Thomas is in, points, rebounds, and assists. The assists, 316, set a WNBA record. She's not a point guard. She's a forward. 27 double-doubles, 6 triple-doubles. Are you kidding me? This woman should have had this trophy hands down.
Marcel Louis-Jacques, the voters get right with Stewart.
I don't want to take anything away from Brianna Stewart. Still set a career high in scoring. She's right on par with her other career averages in terms of rebounds, blocks, assists, and steals. Like, it's not like she didn't deserve her votes, but there's something to be said for Alyssa Thomas, especially considering the context, losing the Sun, losing Jonquel Jones in free agency this offseason. Like, she had to step up. She had no other choice. But I am looking forward to this playoff matchup. I'm sure that both players care more about that than they do any award.
Cronin.
Some people might look at this like the Steve Nash stealing the MVP award from Kobe Bryant. I think you could have made a case for all 3 of these incredible players, but Brianna Stewart scored 25% of her team's points this season. As Marcel said, career highs in just about everything, including double-doubles. She's deserving of this award. The other 2 certainly made a strong case this year, too.
Thomas's 6 triple-doubles are more than any other WNBA player has had in her entire career. If Russell Westbrook won MVP with triple-doubles, Alyssa Thomas certainly can. The Sun wouldn't even be in the playoffs without her. Clearly, she's the MVP.
The thought here, though, is that A'ja Wilson also had maybe her best season on the team with the best record. And was there voter fatigue? Was there? Let's go buy yourself 4 real quick. Must-win game for the Liberty tonight. Bill Plaschke.
Sun win the game, Sun win the championship.
Whoa, hot take there, Courtney Cronin.
Liberty bounced back tonight. They are 1-1.
Louis-Jacques.
Liberty can't handle that unrelenting pressure. Give me the Sun.
You got Connecticut as well for the upset. And Blackistone.
Liberty better bounce back. That's Alyssa Thomas you're talking about.
That's Alyssa Thomas versus Stewart in what's going to be a feisty matchup between the MVP fight. And then I also put some money on DeWanna Bonner, the equal half to Alyssa Thomas, showing out for hers. We'll take a showdown next with Plaschke and Blackistone next. Look at the NL wildcard race going in tonight. 6 games left. Arizona, Chicago in for the moment. Marlins 1 back, Reds 2.5. Only 2 get in. 2 will definitely be left out. Bill, who you got?
I got the teams with the best aces. I'm going with starting pitching this time of year. Arizona's got Zach Gallen. The Cubs have Justin Steele. Those 2 teams will make it.
KB?
I'm going to go with the Diamondbacks and I think the Marlins. But what I like best is Theo Mackey at the Arizona Republic talking about a 4-way tie possible. That's what I really want.
Chaos. Give me the chaos. I am with you, Kevin Blackistone. But Bill Plaschke made the argument that I'm going to give him a point for. But let's move on. Shout out to Marcus Freeman with news of the week for Notre Dame. This is big, guys. You ready? The team now has a signal to jump off sides if they have 10 on the field at a moment that is key in the game. All right? Because 11 players is preferable in key moments of the game. Kevin, problem solved?
That's not the problem solved. That gives a penalty. Hey, I got an idea. How about this signal? Timeout.
Okay.
We need
Well,
another guy on the
Lasky.
field.
I agree with KB. Call timeout. Marcus Freeman was dereliction of coaching duty in the last seconds of that game. And I don't know how Notre Dame moves forward from this. I don't know what changes.
They already used their last timeout. The point was, in that instance, you were only giving away 3 inches. That's all no Plasky, take the FaceTime.
Voters this week are filing their votes on for National League Most Valuable Player. The race should be over with. Mookie Betts of the Dodgers should beat Ronald Acuna Jr. of the Braves. It's clear to me Mookie's got a better WAR. He's got more RBIs. Their OPS is about the same. Plus, Mookie played 3 different positions. He played right field. He played second base. He played shortstop. Acuna played right field the whole time. Mookie's more versatile. Mookie's more valuable. Mookie Betts should win this award over Ronald Acuna Jr. And don't give me that stolen bases stuff. The bases are bigger. The pickoffs aren't as free.
Hold on a second. Bill, what does that say behind you? Oh, Los Angeles. Oh, I had no idea Bill was from Los Angeles.
Forget that. No.
Their WAR is basically even. Their OPS is basically. Every argument you just made for Alyssa Thomas goes for Acuna, by the way.